Absolutely, and I think it's fantastic that you've asked me to think about this, because I think that it's easy to think about the opposite of peace as war, but that's a very simplistic notion of peace. We can think about the opposite of peace as being conflict, and if we think of conflict, there's lots of conflict going on across Canada concerning the environment. Okay, so right now we're seeing it in terms of the Harper government is taking a very adversarial approach to environmentalists across Canada. And they're speeding up the environmental reviews. They're blocking environmental groups from participating in hearings. They are changing the environmental policies such as the Fisheries Act, and this is creating conflict with the environmental movements coast to coast. They're also, investigating and auditing environmental charities to see if they're advocating on political matters. So we're seeing lots and lots of conflict there. And I actually went in and had a meeting with Joe Oliver on March 3rd. And I asked him, one of the questions that I asked him was why they are taking such an adversarial approach to environmentals and what we can do about it. And his reaction was total denial that they are taking an adversarial approach. And it was quite. I was quite taken aback because it seemed to be so obvious to anyone who's reading the news what's going on. So I used some examples, and he said, no, that's not the case. They're not adversarial at all. He denied that he said that he called environmentalists radicals. He wanted it to be more nuanced, that not all environmentalists are radicals. Let's step back from this big picture. Would you say that the government has not embraced environmentalists and First Nations? And he said, I would not agree with that. And I said, they've taken an adversarial position. So, I'm asking, and he says, no, I would not agree with that. So I said, have you brought environmentalists to the table? And he says that he has. Anyway, the idea that I had was that we need to have environmentalists and First Nations and local communities and the oil industry at the table to work out the problems of how to develop the oil sands in a sustainable way. And I shouldn't really use the word sustainable, in a way that is respectful of the environment and of human rights. And so my proposal to Joe Oliver, which doesn't require actually any government action whatsoever, is that perhaps we should explore the idea of a certification council, where environmentalists, it would be modeled on the Forest Stewardship Council,